All right, hello and welcome to the Hollow Herald podcast, episode number 25. We're streaming this live at our normal time, Tuesday nights at about 7. We got a little late to this one, but that's all right. If you guys are listening to the pre-record version, you guys are probably sick of me saying this, but you guys should really join us on the live version. It's a great way to interact with us, and it's a great way to have a back and forth with our fans, and it's a really great time. A lot of our discussion actually ends up coming from the podcast, and it's kind of hard to have out of context when you're not there. We try to edit it as well as possible for the pre-recorded version, but it's just a grand old time. So, I guess we could jump right into it. We got a lot to cover this week, actually. There's been a lot of happenings in the MREC community. We could even probably title this podcast The Happening, because it's definitely happening. So I guess I'm joined by two of my good friends today. Well, one good friend and one not so good friend. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, boys.
Hi, I'm Paul, back for another week of the Hollow Herald podcast, and I think it's going to be an exciting week because we have a lot more to talk about in terms of MR news, so it should be good.
And my not so good friend.
I was just going to ask, which one's the not so good friend?
Obviously we know, dude. I've introduced you
Right.
I've introduced you the same way in every podcast.
Why do you do this to me? Yeah, it's Austin here today with episode number 25 coming at you.
So yes, so I don't know if I said this is Eric, but this is Eric. Anyways, there's been a lot of happenings this week in and outside of the MR community. It's kind of been a busy week, especially with the solar eclipse happening, and I'm sure everybody's heard about it. Even internationally, I bet people have heard about it because it's a pretty big deal. And where we live in Utah, we actually got the chance to see it pretty good. Did you get a chance to see it, Paul?
Yeah, it was like 93% of the sun was covered, so it was pretty nice. It was really similar to, remember the one that happened like a couple summers ago in Utah? It was really similar to that, but it was cool. This was the first time I actually had the glasses to be able to look at it, though, so that was nice.
You didn't just look at it with your bare eyes?
No.
Paul would do that, though.
No, I wouldn't, Austin. You would do that, because I think we all know who would do that.
Well, I didn't do that, so...
Allegedly.
Were you in totality, Austin?
I was in totality. I was up in Casper, Wyoming. And yeah, it was awesome.
So it was pretty crazy, especially here and for people in the central United States. For those of you that don't know, which I'm sure everybody knows, so this is going to be kind of redundant, there was a solar eclipse that actually crossed all the way across the United States. It was like a 75-mile strip of the United States that was in totality zone, and this is the first time this has happened in 99 years. So I mean, it's been a while, and it probably won't happen again for at least another 99 if everything goes accordingly. So it's pretty crazy to have such a big strip of the United States get covered by it. And I was reading some stats on it, and it said only 6% of the population of the United States will get to see it in totality. And that seemed a little bit low to me because from what I was understanding, there were so many people traveling to go see it and such. But apparently it's because it didn't go past any like big metropolitan zones. So everybody that saw it basically had to travel because where it crossed was so low population and rural, which is crazy. Did it go across to Ohio? Where did it go across in Ohio, Paul?
It went across in Kentucky. So, like, it was 3 hours south of here. It's like the nearest city you could have stayed at to see it.
In totality?
Yes.
Did you think about doing it, or what? Why didn't you go? Didn't really care that much?
Like, I cared, but there's going to be another one that's much closer in 2024.
Oh, really?
A total one. It's not going to cross the entire United States, but it's like in Illinois or something like that, so that's much closer. So
yeah,
maybe I'll go to that one.
I was surprised by how often they happen, actually, because the way everybody was talking, this is such a big deal. And I guess like the fact that it went across the United States is a pretty big deal. But I mean, they happen all the time, apparently, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like all around the world. Like There's one that's going to happen in like Antarctica later this year, like in February. Well, I guess later next year. Um, that one would be cool to go see. Like get on a research ship and go down there and see it.
That'd be awesome. Just like you wouldn't have to worry about thralls of people. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about any people at all. It was insane. So apparently, I was reading 7.4 million people traveled to the path of totality. That's pretty insane. So the population of Idaho, we live right next to Idaho, and the population of Idaho like doubled or something crazy like that, just by people traveling in and out. Yeah, I drove about 2.5 hours away from where we live to go see it, and to get out of there, people were taking 8 hours to get back. 8 to 9
Wow.
hours, which is insane. Did you run into any problems, Austin?
No, not really. But I mean, we drove pretty far. It was like 6 hour drive,
Oh, really?
and it was just on the freeway, and there wasn't much traffic. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was insane. So the reason I talk about this, because so we're gonna get back to like technology related, is I ran into a really interesting problem. I mean, we could talk about the eclipse all day, but everybody's that's interested already knows about it. But something that's really interesting is I thought this would probably be like the closest I would ever see to like apocalyptic levels of traffic and people trying to get from one point to another. So I was really excited to see that. And one thing that happened really interesting is I used Google Earth not Google Earth. I used Google Maps to route me where I was supposed to go to help me get home, right? And I found it very interesting.
I don't know how to help with that.
Dang you, Austin. That wasn't you? Oh, crap. Will you turn
You
her
said
down?
Google.
Will you
Yeah.
turn her down? Because I'm going to be saying that a lot in this conversation.
Okay.
That's funny. I said that and our Google Home went off. That's hilarious. It wasn't me. I thought that was your Windows.
The mic is muted.
Okay, good. Okay, we're muted. Okay, because I'm going to be saying her name a lot during this. So I was using Google Maps to get from point A to point B and to help me get to where I needed to go. And it was really crazy because I could see the people that were also using Google Maps because we'd be going one way, and then all of a sudden, like, 5 cars in front of me and like it'd be a big chunk, and then a couple more cars would all of a sudden take the same exit. And then we'd all be following each other. And it got to this point where the Google rerouted us probably almost 20 times due to traffic and different things happening. It got to the point where I was like with the same group of people that was all using Google Maps to get where they needed to go. And I've never seen this in such like a high density place. And what was crazy is everybody was using so much 4G that it was actually clogging the 4G system. So I mean, I have 4G LTE, so it should be really fast when I have it. But I couldn't even bring up a web page because so many other people were using it right there around me. And I ran into this interesting problem where Google Maps wasn't updating because there were so many people using it, and the 4G was so clogged that it wasn't updating. So people were following this dummy path that was really terrible because there was so much traffic on it. Like, it took me at one point in time, I got home really fast because I just used tricky back roads and stuff like that compared to everybody else. It only took me like 5 hours to get home. But to go 2 miles, it took me 45 minutes at one point, which is pretty insane. And it was because Google Maps had routed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to one 4-way. And so it was like this worst just traffic trying to get through this 4-way, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people trying to get through it. But the problem since the 4G was so clogged and the Google Maps was so clogged that nobody's maps was updating and rerouting separate people. I don't know. It was really interesting to see how the system worked. So everybody was following this stupid dummy path because their maps weren't updating to get them to a different path. Finally, I was like, screw it, I'm out of here, and I just drove somewhere else. And then finally, Google Maps updated and rerouted me when I was away from everybody, and we got a good path going. But it was an interesting breakdown of like a normal part of society that we expect to always be there, like our 4G and stuff, but to completely go. Did you run into any problems like that, Austin?
Nope, not really.
I didn't think so. Did you
We
even
had-
have 4G out where you were?
Yeah, like in some parts it was spotty, but like where we camped, like there was a couple people, but not a lot of people. So we had 2 completely different experiences.
That's interesting. I'm excited for Elon Musk's satellite internet because I don't think we'll have problems like that as much anymore with the cell phone towers. It probably still happened, but not very much.
Well, when you notice like a high traffic area, you just reroute another satellite to that area, so
Oh,
it wouldn't
yeah.
be like as bad. Like they can have, basically, they can move antennas around where they need them. So it's like, oh, there's a ton of people in this rural part of the country that we typically never cover. Well, we're just going to reroute a satellite there in anticipation.
Oh, that's genius. See, that'd be so cool because you can't just go build another a phone tower or anything like that, or another big line. And it was just insane. Like text would take like 5 minutes to send because all the phone towers were overwhelmed and stuff where we were. It was pretty crazy and pretty interesting to see how this technology adapts. Because I would have thought Google would have had like an algorithm built in that if a bunch of people, at least if they don't have this, they should build it in because it's a really weird niche case, but it could have saved like probably hundreds of thousands of man hours of people driving. I wish I had like an algorithm built in that if a ton of people are routing to the same location, it will pick different routes for everybody to disperse that traffic around. Even if it's like slower, like by 5 minutes for one person and slower by 5 minutes for another person, it'll at least reroute it so it's faster for everybody. It's a really weird niche case. I mean, can you guys think of any other times when there'd be this much traffic in a location? In a rural location? Well, not even real. I mean, this could happen in the big city. Has there ever been like 7.4 million people migrating at once? I'm trying to think of anything. Can you guys think of anything?
No, I think it'd have to be like an emergency or like something like this. Like
That's-
it'd have to be something like, oh, Yellowstone just exploded and you have 8 minutes to get out of Utah.
Oh
which
my
wouldn't
gosh.
happen. But
Utah would be gone, right? Isn't when?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like 8 minutes and you're under like feet of ash already.
Dang. I remember.
All I know, guys, is when all else fails, ham radio.
Oh, freaking! Dude, Austin got his ham license recently, and that's all he can talk about. You and friends still use it, or are you guys over that phase?
No, we still use it. I took it into Wyoming, tried to call other people, but nobody uses ham. Well,
Our friend has like huge copper wires coming out of his house and stuff to get better reach. And what is your obsession with this ham radio, Austin?
it was the internet before the internet. It's just cool. It's a reliable system.
What do you mean the
Yeah.
internet before the internet?
Because you can talk to people clear across the world. It's a solid piece of communication. You can do a lot with it. You can even send data. You can send emails.
How fast?
Which is interesting. I don't know. I've never done it. But if any of you ham radio guys are out there, my call sign is KI7NFY. So
How far can you reach with a ham radio?
depends on your location and like the sun.
So
And
with our mountains here, does that affect it a lot?
yeah. But then you have like repeaters on top of mountains that boost your signal and send it.
Are those government funded, or are those like personal people went up and put them there?
Either or.
Interesting. So I know we have like in Utah, we have like this huge apocalypse network of ham radios, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if you're ham radio certified, you're supposed to get with your like county or public city so that they can like put your name down for like emergency contact during an emergency. Jesus, that was hard to say.
Yeah, every like Sunday night there's like a call in where you have to say everything is good, all is well, and then you're like, okay.
What happens if someone says all is not well?
Then action is taken.
What is the action?
I have no idea. I'm new to this community, okay?
Paul, can you get a ham radio? Can we ham Paul?
If we get the right equipment.
Paul, we should ham each other. Did we lose Paul?
I think Paul's gone.
I think we lost Paul. He's gone. Let's check Discord.
We're
real
at
quick.
Paul 2017.
Bye, Paul. He's gone. This is why we need a ham. That's so crazy. That went out right when I said we need a ham because that's insane. So you get really mad at me when I try to talk on your ham radio. Why is that?
Well, it's just, I mean, I don't get mad at you. You can. Third-party communication if I'm there. But it's just, I don't know. Like the FCC just requires you to be licensed to communicate on certain bands. And you have to use certain protocol and etiquette. And if you don't know that, then I don't know.
Give me a crash course. What's some etiquette I need to know?
So you have to say your call sign when you begin a message. Then every 10 minutes, you have to broadcast your call sign. And then there can be absolutely no swearing or stuff like that.
No swearing.
Yeah. Jeez, I don't know.
So what kind of radios do trucks use, like truckers?
They use CB radios. Completely different thing.
So can you get on a CB network with your ham radio?
I'm not sure about that. I don't think so.
Oh. Is CB radio more powerful or is ham radio more powerful?
Ham is.
What's the most powerful type of radio?
I don't know. I'm a novice. I'm just a technician. Technician class hammer.
Wait, there's
radio.
like levels?
Yeah.
What? That's awesome. It's like a video. It's like you can upgrade yourself. It's like a Pokemon. What do you evolve into next?
Then it's, I think, the general license, and then
Like general, like is in broad, or general as in like 4-star general?
like abroad,
Oh, okay.
and then it's amateur extra. I think.
Amateur extra. What does that mean?
I think that gives you like the authority to communicate with spacecraft if you get the right clearance and stuff. And I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Cool stuff.
So, wait, you had to take a test, right? Did you have to take a test?
Yes.
Well,
A proctored test.
How
at a
many
police station.
questions?
I think it's like 30 questions.
Was it hard?
No, not really. It's just basic math conversions. You have to know basic electronic components and just rules of the FCC.
So,
And Tuckett has nothing to do with the HoloLens.
oh, there's people on the chat. I totally
Yeah.
was in my own world.
All right, wait, I'm back.
Oh, pause back. What's
I'm
this
not-
got to do with the HoloLens? Tuck, it's got everything to do with the HoloLens. We're talking about progression of technology. You know, Austin said this was the internet before it's the internet. Is it? Oh, wait, I'm still confused by this. So did people used to use like ham radios to talk back and forth?
Mm-hmm.
How often was this like colleges would talk back and forth or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, they have like ham radio competitions, like who can like locate.
Competition?
Yeah.
What is that?
So you get an award for how many people you can find and contact, and the farthest distance you can contact.
What? Can you get signals from space?
Yes.
What? Has anybody
Have you ever
gotten-
heard aliens?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Austin gets really mad when I touch his ham radio. He thinks
No,
he's
I
gonna get
don't.
hunted down. Can you get tracked
You can-
down?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just gonna start.
You can like fly RC airplanes with ham too, and you can do like triangulation to locate things, and yeah.
That's cool. That's actually pretty interesting, the triangulating things. I mean, I just kind of want to stream something 24/7 on my ham radio. So tune into podcast episode 26. We'll be on. Can you do stations? There's stations, right?
No,
What? How does it work? How do you contact somebody?
just frequencies.
Oh God. Okay, same thing. Frequency stations. What's the difference between a frequency and a station?
Well, like, what are we talking about? Like the FM or the AM band? Because we don't run on those bands.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. But there's got to be like 1146C or something like that.
147.500. That's
Okay, we're gonna be streaming live
we're not.
next week on 6969. Be there or be square. This will be the first ham radio podcast. Actually, it's definitely probably not the first ham radio podcast. Yeah, Paul, where'd you go? What happened?
The Wi-Fi just took a poo, and I thought it was kind of funny because I was just about to say we should do the next podcast on ham because it's more reliable. And lo and behold, the Wi-Fi goes out, and I'm completely cut off from the world. So
It was funny because when you didn't know you were gone, I'm like, what? I was trying to talk to you, and I was like, you should. Oh, I was telling you, I was like, hey, Paul, you should get a ham radio so we can talk to you over ham, and you weren't there, and it was really funny because we really needed it. So could we realistically talk to Paul though? Like, do we need $1,000 in equipment, or can we like invest
we
like
need-
$25?
I mean, we could go to. I know a guy in my hometown that he has all the equipment we could need to talk to people in Germany.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds
But yeah,
cool.
you need some high-powered equipment
And you have to get a license, Paul.
and good propagation to
Oh.
broadcast that far.
Is this a federal? Is this a federal license or a state license?
Federal.
Oh, so Paul would have to get the same license.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So there's a sector of the United States government dedicated just to ham radio stuff, right?
Yep.
Oh, that'd be kind of a fun job. Not gonna lie.
But it's ran through the Federal Communications Committee.
Oh, so just like radio?
Yeah.
So
You have to deal with the FCC.
Mm-hmm. I get letters from them all the time. It's weird.
are they like, Austin? We need you. We need you. And it's
I
gotta go on
wish.
ham radio.
I wish I could be a spy for them.
A spy. You're listening to people in the countryside talk about their crops, probably. All right, let's check on some comments. All right, Tuck says, "OC, I'll buy into that for a few minutes." So, is the topic the evolution of text-based comms? Sure. It's totally not.
Yeah,
us just
because we
bantering
always
about it.
have a general topic with our podcasts, and not just a bunch of guys just sitting around talking.
That seems
About nothing in general.
is.
We'll do. Yeah, we'll go ahead and say the evolution of tech-based comms. We'll do that. So speaking of comms, we have news articles. I have no idea I have no idea how to segue out of that. Let's do some of our news articles.
All right, let's start with the big one, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah.
hit it hard.
Go
Well,
right
Microsoft at a pre-PAX event is going to be revealing some mixed reality titles that'll be on their platform. So I think that's pretty exciting because they'll be paired with titles that will appear on the Xbox One X. So I think this is kind of hinting at that idea of the Xbox One X supporting mixed reality gaming. What do you guys think?
I mean, we can only hope, right? They didn't say anything at what conference? E3? Was it E3? Where did they release the Xbox One X?
I thought it was just a press conference.
Wherever it was, whenever they released the Xbox One X information, they didn't say anything about mixed reality content at all. They didn't even say anything about like VR really. So I mean, I hope they would be saving it for something like PAX because they love PAX. My Xbox loves PAX. And they're going to be focusing on the Xbox One, I would presume. And even in their press notes, they say they're going to talk about mixed reality stuff and the Acer headsets and stuff like that. Like, sorry, I don't have the link right here. Do you want to post it in the chat, Paul, really quickly, so people can
What's
see
it
what we're
for?
talking about?
Oh,
The
yeah,
event.
yeah.
The event. Let's see. And what's really exciting is this is an open house event, isn't it?
Yes, so anyone's welcome to go. It's August 31st at Microsoft's headquarters, like
In
their visitor center.
Washington, Redmond, Washington, I think.
Yeah,
Pretty sure
I
that's where it's at.
got the information.
Here, pre-order.
That website, here we go.
It's called ID at Xbox.
Yeah.
August will feature more than 50 titles available to play, including several mixed reality titles. Right there, very keyword. So I mean, they say it right there that they're going to talk about, along with video games running on the Xbox One X. They even say mixed reality titles before Xbox One X. This is on VRFocus.com, so that would make sense. But I mean, if we pull up the official, I guess it's not really super official, their Eventbrite page. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yes, I'm also gonna, for anybody that's interested and lives around there. I mean, even if you live pretty far, this is probably worth like a 5-6 hour drive to check out because it's 4 hours long of just pure.
Gaming pleasure.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're into that, once again, we're throwing open the doors at Microsoft Campus to kick off PAX Prime weekend with the latest ID at Xbox games. Hundreds of gamers and a special hands-on opportunity with guest titles Forza 7, Super Lucky's Tale, and Forgotten Anne. Which, I mean, we're not super here at the Hollow Herald. We're not super big gamers. I mean, we know what we're talking about, but I wouldn't say we're professionals by any means. Let me see if we get down here. They don't really talk much about mixed reality in the Eventbrite page, but I don't think that's the focus to draw people in. I mean, that wouldn't be a good drawing point to bring in consumers talking about mixed reality, but it's really cool that they are. Wow, so many titles that we're talking about. Should we go to this? I think it'd be fun to cover.
Why not?
I mean, I Googled it. It's a 12-hour drive. Are you ready, Austin?
What day is it?
Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Not this Thursday. That'd be terrible.
Okay, well, school starts on the 28th.
What classes? Do you have a lot of classes on Thursday and Friday?
I don't know. I'll have to check. But this is
It's the
irrelevant.
first week. It's still this week.
It's true. Nothing goes on.
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe you guys will see us there. Maybe not. We'll announce if we're going to be there for sure or not. Probably soon. But I think this would be awesome to cover. This is exciting that they're bringing mixed reality gaming, because everybody talks about how MR is not going to be for gaming, especially Microsoft MR is not going to be for gaming. Do you think we're going to see more like VR featured stuff, like with the Acer headsets and the Lenovo headsets, or do you think we're going to see actual HoloLens content?
That kind of ties into what Tuck Seaver's saying. He says, if we're going to use the term MR, can we please, he puts that in asterisks, use it correctly. The blue headset that's really just VR is not MR, and it's really getting on my nerves, grumpy / grumpy old man. So
Backslash.
I want to kind of address that real quick. So yeah, it's going to be like a VR headset, but the difference between this and most VR headsets is this has cameras on the front of it. Like, so technically they can really do a simulated AR MR experience inside, like with this VR, because you have a camera on the outside so you can see the room around you. So it might be just that first step to putting things like this on the HoloLens, but this is just the way that they can do it by tying it to the power of your computer or tying it to the power of the Xbox One X. What are your guys' thoughts on that assessment of why they're calling this headset the mixed reality headset?
I think you're right. Tuxiver says, aren't those cameras for object avoidance only? I think you're right, they may be, but I don't see why you couldn't just use an attachment and do something similar. You could achieve MR-like status with it pretty easily. I don't think they have onboard recording. I can't remember. See, and Tuck, you bring up a great point. Actually, you hit on a lot of good points with that sentence. Tuck says VR is not MR, and we clearly know that, but sadly, it's being marketed as MR. It's more being marketed as Windows holographic, which to a lot of people means MR, you know? So it's just as weird. It's another weird pseudo gray area, which makes it really hard to discuss, because they don't market it as VR, and they don't really market it as MR. They market it as Windows holographic, which is like this pseudo of both worlds. But to address on your point, Paul, about will this be forwarding like games for Xbox One and such, I'm kind of confused on the where the Acer and Lenovo headsets fit into the ecosystem, the technology ecosystem. Are they? See, I'm kind of at a draw. Are they for work? Are they for gaming? Are they for getting into VR or MR or Windows holographic? Or I'm just super confused on what these headsets are supposed to, what niche they're supposed to fit. Have you guys seen anything related to that?
Not really. It's kind of been kind of foggy in terms of thinking about like that in terms of how they've been marketing it. It seems like they are just marketing it as more of a VR headset to me, which means it's going to be more for gaming and stuff, and not really like, oh, check out our MR stuff, you know?
Yes, and I think it's a smart idea. I mean, it kind of forced what just dropped price. Didn't like the Vive or something just drop price recently?
I don't know anything about that.
I can't remember. One of the devices. Some of the other some of the other VR devices are also dropping price too, because this is a very affordable price point compared. And Shanong did a great video talking about it, like the pros and cons a little bit of why you should get the Vive or why you should get the Lenovo headset, and they were very comparable, you know, for like a end user experience. I don't know. I'm kind of interested. That's one of the reasons this event is really important, to kind of show us what games are coming out with it, what apps, and what the purpose of it is. Let's see. MR is being stolen as a marketing term, like the word hologram. Arg. Why does this make me so mad? Oh gosh. No, Tuck, you're totally fair. It gets us mad too, right, Paul? Remember that one article?
Oh, it gets me so angry, like the article in Forbes where they were like, check out how this YouTuber's using mixed reality to improve their content, and it was just like they were playing a VR game, but they were filming themselves, like they were using a green screen to put the world like around them, like you know how we have the little corner box that shows like the person really using the HoloLens without like the holograms around them.
Yeah.
It was that, but they were using a green screen and they were projecting the virtual world they were in, so it made it look like they were really playing the game. And I just got so, I don't know why I got so angry with that, but I did because it was like totally not MR. It was just a stupid like gag. Like it was kind of gimmicky, you know, like, oh, let me just set up a green screen and do this real quick.
And it wasn't revolutionary. I mean, streamers have been doing stuff like that forever. They just, and gaming content has been doing that forever. It was just the purely incorrect use of the word MR. It's almost like the whole fake news thing that gets people really aggravated. It's like, did you not even care to Google MR before you started using that term? You didn't coin it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many articles, and we notice it mostly in non-tech articles. But I mean, you'd think Forbes, they're pretty reputable. You'd think they'd be able to get something like that right. But Tuck, I mean, you were probably there a few podcasts ago or heard it, where we just went on and on about the term mixed reality and how it needs to be coined correctly. Didn't we have we had an article that kind of actually hit on the point quite well. What was it? Let me see if I can pull it up, Paul. It was one you posted.
It was probably super long ago, I'm guessing.
It was just barely. It was just one of these ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay, I found it. So it's this is from technical.ly. And this is a really well written article. Here's one of the paragraphs from it. I don't exactly know what the article's talking about, but here's one of the great paragraphs. The HoloLens headset creates an environment that's known as mixed reality. There's no strict definition of mixed reality, along with artificial reality, virtual reality, and spatial computing. In a nutshell, this sector of holographic computing devices allows users to engage with digital content within the confines of their world around them. I think that's a great way to kind of say, hey, there's really no set term, but this is what it is. But that causes so many problems. I mean, we could talk about this forever, so we won't get into it. But I don't know.
But the article you're talking about, that was kind of a good segue. That was about this ByteCubed. We talked about them last week coming into partnership with Microsoft as one of their holographic partners. Specifically doing the government stuff, and this kind of expands upon that, because I think last week the article was very like vague about what they were planning on doing. Like it was like the classic like startup, like, oh, here's what we're planning on doing, but here we actually get some concrete visions. And what they've started doing is taking maps that the government has on file, and they've been converting them into the MR world. And one of the pictures I have in this article, it kind of shows like a map of the mall, like the National Mall, and it's the person has it in the room in front of them. Like you can see the Capitol building, and I think they're standing behind the atrium or whatever it's called. I forget what that, like the place with all the plants and stuff, like all the orchids, and I forget what that's called, but they have it there. So it's a pretty cool kind of article, and it kind of shows more what they're doing. And I'm really excited to see what they'll do with all of these maps and how far they will go in the future. And they also talk about how they're really just exploring how they can use the HoloLens to solve some real-world problems right now, and this is just kind of a stepping stone to get to that point. So this kind of goes back to like when we talk about like emergency responders and stuff. If they're taking like maps of government buildings and stuff and bring them into the HoloLens, that means like they could train for security circumstances without actually having to like clear out the Capitol building to train for those circumstances.
Or if they're like taking a president down like on a walk, like how exactly like right after the inauguration, how the president always takes the big long walk. I mean, for people like every branch of military basically, but the Secret Service, to be able to pinpoint what buildings are where and have like a live preview and plan out where everything is going to be, where to put snipers, where to put law enforcement, where to put all that stuff. That's really helpful. There's a quote. It says, "We definitely see a lot of potential to create." This is from Higgins, who's of ByteCubed, I think. We definitely see a lot of potential to create a mixed reality platform that can be customized and tailored to a broad range of applications for government and commercial customers that need to visualize and collaborate around geospatial data. That's such a cool word, geospatial data. That was a hard sentence for me to read, sorry. Did it say how much are there, like, is there any money in this? How much, or is this just a partnership?
it's just a partnership, but I'm sure there's money, but they don't have to like disclose that. So
So, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, who's that? In addition to learning the wide range of capacities in mixed reality from Holland's expert, as a part of this program, VightCube created a prototype for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. What's that, Paul?
I'm sorry, I just blanked out.
The
I don't know.
I have no idea either. I'm googling it.
VightCube transferred a book of maps used by multiple government agencies to large-scale national special security events into a dynamic hall. That might be exactly what you're talking about.
NGA.mil. Is this a military?
Yeah. Well, I bet they. I don't know. It's kind of NGA.
Sorry, we'll probably cut this out of the final version, but for you people streaming, they have a YouTube channel. Oh, they have a podcast. What the freak? The military has a podcast? What is going on?
Geo.
What is this?
Are you getting abducted by the government, Eric?
I might be. What's going on? I feel like I got somewhere where we're not supposed to be.
Geospatial. Yeah, it's a military
We have
thing,
more
so
subscribers than the military, just so everybody knows.
yeah, they use like satellites and stuff. This is like probably one of the more funded agencies we've never heard of.
National Geospatial Intelligence Agency? What the freak is that even, though? Mission. Okay. Products and services. Okay, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency does not sell or platform services for the public. Those products and services are not available to the public can be obtained from the following sources. Oh, aeronautical charts and publications, CIA maps and publications, custom media team. Falcon View is a Windows mapping system that displays various types of maps and geographical references overlaid. So it's basically just all about mapping, right?
Yeah, they say like anyone who sails a U.S. ship, flies a U.S. aircraft, makes national policy decisions, fights wars, locates targets, responds to natural disasters, or even navigates with a cell phone relies on the NGA. So, I guess multiple companies are tied into this. So obviously, like Google Maps would be tied into this system. So would Apple Maps, and then you also have all this stuff that we like to talk about, which is like first responders type deals, where it's like, here's what happened, here's like the best route to get there, and kind of what this company is doing, I'm guessing, is working with them in turning these maps into MR, like they're bringing it into mixed reality on the HoloLens.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. That's kind of, that would be fun. Like as far as being the startup that gets to work with that much data. I'm just kind of parsing through, and they have like over 125 years worth of data. The United States Board of Geographic Names, and they have so much data. Oh my gosh, can you even imagine how much data that is? And right now, all of that data is presented in a 2D, or I mean, maybe they have like 3D models and stuff, but to be able to present all of that map data, whatever it is, I can't even begin to think how much data they have in a 3D view. That's going to be awesome. That's cool. And to see the government backing something like the HoloLens, that just even shows more approval for it, because now they have a reason to get into MR, and they have a reason to push this forward and make sure it happens. I mean, right now, I think summer of 2017 has kind of been this time where we've seen a lot of adoption of MR. Have you guys noticed that? I feel like I'm seeing it more and more in like just the outside world.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, and I think one of the big reasons is because it's Microsoft pushing it, and it's pretty easy because Microsoft's foot's in the door at literally every company in the world. Basically, if you have a computer, you know what Microsoft is and does. So they kind of already have their foot in the door, so it's not hard to get companies to be like, oh yeah, like you have this HoloLens thing, we'll see what we can do with it. Or like Microsoft goes to them and they're like, we have this, which can help out your business in this way, this way, this way. And maybe that's why we see it so much now. You know, like everyone kind of embracing it.
You're exactly right. I know where I worked, at least, not where I worked, where I work, when I was trying to get us on some sort of Slack or Team Chat, some Team Chat interface. I was trying to get us all there on some Team Chat, and that was right when Microsoft was doing their Microsoft Teams beta testing and stuff like that. And the higher ups, we went to ask to see what they use, because in corporate infrastructure, for any little change, you have to go all the ways up to the top. And they were like, try out the Microsoft one before you go with Slack, just because we feel more comfortable. They would rather use the Microsoft one because that's already the ecosystem that they're with. Even though it was most definitely not as good as Slack, they still wanted us to use it and they still wanted us to try it. We ended up going with Slack in the end. But it just shows how these companies they feel comfortable there, so they already trust them. Do you think that helps? Do you think that really helped mixed reality? What do you see a mixed reality universe like, or a future, like an alternate future, if Windows didn't get into MR, if it was just people like Magic Leap and Avegant and ODG and these smaller companies?
Honestly, I don't see it. Because if you think about all the things we commonly use today, so the big example I'm going to use is the smartphone. Apple was a well-established company before they came out with the iPhone, right?
Yes.
So people already kind of trusted them. Now, if you have another company, like, say, instead of Apple coming out with it, like, what's a smaller smartphone maker, like like OnePlus, that company?
Yes, the OnePlus.
Yeah, they make really nice smartphones. But if they had come out with the first one, I'm not confident theirs would be the market leader. It probably would still be a big company. Like, Apple would have just come out and been like, oh yeah, we have this thing. And people would have been like, well, we want that because we kind of trust Apple. And that's why, like, brand is so important these days with companies. Like, it's really hard to enter some markets. I would say especially technology. It's really hard to enter because you have these big names that people already trust, and they're going to try out before they try out yours, you know?
Yeah, and they have the infrastructure to be able to push out products much faster. Like, if you're the phone that's like OnePlus and you come out, there's no way you're going to be able to fulfill the desire for it. Or let's say you come to market, and before you can actually get a following, Apple could build the same product as it and destroy it, basically. Which brings me to another topic I wanted to touch on that's not really related to MR or anything. But have you guys noticed the, like, for lack of better words, like the slowdown almost in progression of technology that we've had in the past year or so, with companies like Google and Microsoft and Apple being like too big? Like, I feel, and YouTube especially, YouTube is a great example. YouTube can be as crappy as they want because there's no competition and they can't get beat out. I think Google, actually, for a company that I love Google, and I love all their products, and I love everything they do. I mean, they've done some iffy things lately, but as an overall broad term, I love Google. It seems like they're too big now. Like, they're almost stifling technology. Like DuckDuckGo. Do you use DuckDuckGo, Paul?
Yeah, that's my exclusive search engine.
And DuckDuckGo has a hard time surfacing because they don't have a following, because they can't beat Google. I don't know. You guys understand what I'm trying to say? Like, it's too big. Like, startups can't come in and innovate or anything like that. They just get beat out by Google. Like, a lot of websites, like, let's say you made a calculator website. Well, Google just added a calculator into their thing. Or now they're even adding it, like, people don't even have to go to your website if they read the little snippet, if they Google a question, you know? I don't know. It's getting a little scary to me. Does anybody else feel that way, or have they seen that at all?
Yeah, I feel like these big companies, they're just going in and they see like the startup that has an awesome idea, but they have the buying power to just pick it up, and it's their company now. And so, like, I don't know if it matters. I guess you'd have to agree to Google's ruling or whatever, but yeah, I do see that.
I think the best example that I think consistently comes up is Facebook. In the way, whenever they see a big competitor come, they're just like, oh yeah, that's a feature of our site now. And I was talking about with some friends at lunch today, and one of them was like, yeah, it's kind of like, if you have a good idea, why even bother to build it? Just sell it immediately, because if you try and build it, it's just going to be taken up by one of these big companies isn't going to bother to buy it from you anymore. They're just going to be like, oh yeah, we built it.
No, you're exactly right. And I think Facebook just announced their MR glasses. Did you guys see that?
Oh yeah.
Did we post that in our chat? Was that one of ours, or was that somewhere else?
No.
I'll bring it in real quick. Facebook MR glasses. I think this was just like today or yesterday. Oh yeah,
And
Facebook patents Oculus augmented reality glasses. Here you go. I'll post this into the chat from Engadget. Sorry, you guys can go ahead, Paul. What were you saying?
Well, I was gonna kind of touch on something that Austin said. He said that he doesn't know if it matters. Like, should we just accept that these companies rule? And I think that it really does matter. It's a very important thing, you know. Like, we're getting to this point where I don't know how to say it correctly.
It's hard to
I
say.
don't know.
I know. I was trying
It's
to
just
say
like stifling innovation is never a. You don't want these companies to get too big, because then you get this too big to fail mentality, and it's just not good in my opinion. I don't know how to say it, but
it's
it's
like too
definitely
big
not
to
a good thing.
compete. It's too
Yeah.
big to compete. You're exactly right, because these people, they have the buying power to get the best of the best minds in the world, and they can build any product you want to build with the infrastructure they have 10 times better and 10 times faster. And which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I guess it's like, as a community, and a community is like a culture, as a society, we kind of have to decide at this point, is it best to let Google just keep churning out awesome content and making us cool things, or is it time to say, okay, Google, Facebook, like, you can't, I mean, we legally can't say stop growing, because that's impossible. It's just this weird gray area, and it kind of bothers me, because I think it stops a lot of potential ideas and potential startups and potential stuff. Because now the main idea for a startup is not to start a business, it's to start an idea that looks appealing enough to a big business to get bought by them. Have you noticed that, Paul, in the startup community?
Yeah, like, I think the goal of every startup at this point is just to get bought out, because none of them are going to be capable of building something and actually, like, curating it for themselves, because everyone's just going to be able to come in and just take their idea and not pay them anything for it, you know? Like, they're just going to be on the street with what used to be a great idea, but some company came in.
So let's look at Magic Leap situation. Like, I don't know. Is someone going to come and buy them up? Or are they just going to get thrown down and Hollins is going to beat them? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, they've got a lot of money in their company.
Well, a lot of the companies that would potentially buy them up are investors in it. So I guess, I mean, at one point, if it starts to go downhill, Google could just come in and buy up the rest of the company and absorb it that way, or or Alibaba, or any of the huge companies that have invested into it. But I think a better example is probably Meta. What do you think about Meta? Because they're smaller and they don't have a lot of profits, and honestly, I have not seen much about their shipment of the Meta 2, which is sad. And I love the company, and they were one of the first people's. I think they were the first device launch was the Meta 1 that we saw, and they haven't gotten bought up or anything. But do you see them getting bought up, Paul and Austin?
I just see their idea being stolen.
Oh yeah.
I can see them getting bought. We kind of touched on this last week a little bit, and yeah, I think personally I see Meta as a company that is positioning themselves to get bought. I mean, they have the technology, and I would love to see like Microsoft buy them. Actually, I think that would be a good purchase for them.
So, I mean, well, it's what they have to do today in this age. Even if they didn't want to, if Microsoft gave them a good offer, they'd be required to take it, because if they said no, Microsoft would just be like, well, we can probably build with whatever you want without coming over patents or anything like that, but we could absorb you and kind of help it out. I don't know. It's just an interesting theory. I mean, not interesting theory. It's just an interesting thought I had. That was like, we have no other YouTube, you know, and there's not going to be other YouTube, because it's YouTube and nobody else can create it, and that's not good for the community, and that's not good for YouTube either, because they have no driving force to compete or to do better. Honestly, I think that's the biggest downfall of YouTube right now, is not that they're trying to censor people or they're trying to have family-friendly content or they're ad apocalypse or anything like that. It's because there's no competition and there's nothing pushing them to innovate. If we look at YouTube, YouTube has been the same since 2006 or 2007 or whenever it was made. You know, the idea, the concept, the technology has not really changed. Besides releasing 4K content and maybe fixing the algorithm here and there, it's not changed, which I don't think is really healthy. But I guess it's a case where like there's companies that still thrive, like Uber and Airbnb, but I don't know. It's just interesting because I would honestly love to see a good competitor to Google and all of their technologies, but it's just not going to happen. Facebook's glasses, you guys get a second to look at that?
Looking at it right now.
It's kind of funny. This is their render for their glasses. Did you guys look at it? Go ahead and click on that picture. It's
It
just
looks
a
like a pair
pair.
of eyeglasses.
It's like
Yeah.
obviously. I love how they're trying to make it like this is a good point. Like this is what our glasses will look like. And let me see. Let me pull up the exact quote from the article and read it to you guys. General.
Waveguide display with two-dimensional scanner that may augment views of a physical, real-world environment with computer-generated elements. So they're Google glasses.
Yep.
To begin with, probably, but then they're gonna start going. Let me see. Hold on.
I
Where
love,
did
I love the figure. It's like glasses.
Like those look like the pair of glasses like that someone who needs glasses would wear. Like
the device apparently will use tech. My favorite line, there's a quote in there that says, "It also seems like Facebook wants to make them look like ordinary glasses rather than adopt the chunky look of most VR." That's silly. Obviously, the VR companies and the AR companies and the MR companies don't want their glasses to be massive, you know. But that's the technology and that's the spear. This is kind of not cool of Facebook to do. Kind of being like, "Oh, look what we'll do," when in all honesty, they're not going to do that for a really long time. And I don't know. Do you think Google Glass would sell, or a version of Google Glass would sell today in today's world?
hell yeah. Like yeah. Like if it even had like half of the apps that are on the HoloLens, yes. Like it'd do really well, I think. Like I would buy one because it'd definitely be cheaper than its $1,500 launch price by now if people wouldn't have freaked out about privacy and all that.
Oh man, I pray that doesn't happen with the HoloLens. Austin, would you like if they came out with Google Glass? It's like the price of a smartwatch, like $200-$300. Is that something you'd pick up?
Ooh, I don't know.
Let's say they can also fit onto your prescription glasses.
Okay, that would be a huge plus. But probably the only thing like AR that I'd use for it would be navigation or telling the time really quick.
Yeah, you got your clock up there, you got your navigation, you can watch a YouTube video, you could even Google stuff probably.
Okay, that would be pretty cool. But I mean, I just haven't been able to think of what I would actually use it for other than those things. So I don't know.
I think it'd be cool if they can interact, make it so it fits with people's prescription glasses. I think they could totally find a field in there some way. If you don't have to like wear a second pair of glasses for it.
Oh yeah.
Paul, is that something you'd pick up?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's the future to me, and the fact that these companies, I know Tuck just said that Magically did the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, these are what our glasses are going to look like. People are going to be so disappointed when they see that. They're going to be bulky. They're going to be bulky at first if they're going to have the same functionality as like the HoloLens or the Meta, you know? They're going to have to be bulky because the technology, the miniaturization technology is just not there yet.
So I guess it brings us to a cool point where what's more important, presentation or like functionality? Like in this realm, it's such a hard line because I mean, if these glasses come out and let's say they suck, I think Google Glass was cool and I really like Google Glass, but to most people they sucked, sadly, and at least to the outside world, that could really impact MR as a whole if Facebook comes out and says, this is our MR glasses, and they look really cool, and they put them on, and they're like crap, they're like dirt. It's like, wow, this is cool, but I would never buy this. It totally turned people off on MR. That's just my biggest fear about MR, to be honest, is that another technology comes out and does a really bad job of representing what MR is, and people don't get the experience required to get people excited and to get people out there purchasing things. What is your guys' biggest fear for like adoption of MR?
I would have to say it's the same thing. I mean, if that's the first experience anyone ever has with it and it's an expensive device, which inevitably it will be because these big companies, they love to be like, oh yeah, just buy it because our name's on it and not really like give us the features. That's what I like about the startup culture. It's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to charge a high price because people aren't going to buy it, and you need to be able to sell it at a cheap price. Like, you need to be able to sell it at an affordable price and like have features that actually make sense and people actually like, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Austin? What do you think could stifle it faster, or your biggest fear of stifling MR?
I mean, we have several mixed reality headsets or whatever you want to call them out there or in the development phase. I'm just concerned about like cross compatibility and like how it's going to be adopted massively, you know?
Like the technology might be cool, but if it doesn't work with anything else, it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
like if I got to buy a $3,000 HoloLens to get this one feature, like, but I, you know, like, I don't know, just cross compatibility. I hope that's a thing in the future.
Yes, which isn't really something we see talked about very often at all, if at all. I don't think there's enough devices to really warrant cross-compatibility yet, but I totally see where you're coming from. That we've talked about it extensively, where if you get a bunch of employees that have their own personal devices, or like iMessage, like the fact that someone can't message me with iMessage and it comes across super weird in group messages. Like you were talking about group messages, weren't you? You just had a problem with group messages, didn't you, Austin?
Group messages.
Come on.
Oh, not really. It's not really relevant.
Anyways, just having a group message is terrible. Have you guys ever tried to have a
Just
group
like
message?
identifying people, like their phone numbers. Like that's all I get.
That's a perfect example of terrible cross-compatibility, because all they have to represent them by is their phone number when you're in a group message, and it's just terrible. I hope we don't have anything like that with HoloLens. Or mixed reality. I really, really hope you don't. Let's see, where were we? Oh yeah, Facebook glasses. You think we're gonna get it? You think we're gonna see these guys?
Well, yeah, we're going to see them because Facebook has more money than they know what to do with. But I don't see it fitting into what Facebook is to me, which is just a website. I see it fitting into Apple. I see it fitting into Microsoft a little bit. Magic Leap is a big, like, I don't know what the hell they're doing. Amazon, I'd love to see them come out with a pair. Ooh, what if Amazon buys Meta? I would love that. Okay, moving on, and I could see Samsung coming out with an MR headset.
Yes, totally. And maybe not licensed through. I think when Microsoft was trying to do that, they were trying to get all these companies to just license their technology and just rebrand it. Let's see. Based on the info in the documents, the glasses will have waveguide system that projects images and light into the user's eyes. That's similar to the technology behind Microsoft's AR headset, the HoloLens, and Magic Leap's still mysterious mixed reality device. I hate everything about everything in this world. It's just such a... How many times do I have to say it? We need solid definitions of this stuff, because HoloLens and Magic Leap, what they're going to do is going to be essentially the same thing. But why is Magic Leap mixed reality and HoloLens is AR? What the freak is this device that they're coming out with? Apparently they have people that worked on HoloLens working on this project. I don't know. I also hate Mark Zuckerberg more than anybody in the world. Probably not more than anybody. That's a little rough, but not a good guy. How much would you guys pay for Google Glass nowadays?
$500.
Just gonna say that.
$500? That's
Yep.
fair. I think that's totally doable.
Like, that's a really, like, that's your top of the line smartwatch. So yeah, I think it definitely is way better than smartwatches, which are a gimmick to me. And yeah, like, I'd rather have glasses than a watch.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh man. Okay, yeah, I'm right there with you. $500. Do you guys see in the timeline of things, do you guys see like a Google Glass coming, and then then that like easing people into mixed reality, or do you see like just full on, let's get into mixed reality, let's do this thing? As far as adoption and the culture kind of grows.
I would see the glasses as one of the very last things to take on, actually. For me, I think the bulkier the better, because then people know you're wearing it, and and then they're like, oh, I could be being filmed right now. But everyone and their dog has a phone out constantly, and they're constantly taking pictures and filming everyone. So there's nothing to really worry about there. But I think that'll help if people know you have one, you know?
You're so right. I'm super excited to see the privacy discussions. Actually, Lucas Risotto, I think we'll probably have him on the podcast very soon, and I think that he wants to talk about privacy and security and stuff like that. So I think that'll be one of the topics we'll definitely have to hit on, because it's been quite a few podcasts since we talked about privacy. So I think it's something we could totally rehash on. Speaking of, is that all our news stories first?
Yeah.
I believe so.
I believe so. I think we got through all our news this week. Well, that's number 25. All right, I guess we could probably wrap this bad boy up. Let me get my music. You guys can say your goodbyes while I get my stuff ready.
It's been great, everyone. Tuck, thanks for showing up. About visual content, yeah, that's probably what excites me the most. Like, yeah, the phone part will be cool, but the visual content, like the experiences, the entertainment we'll get will be great. But we can talk more about that next week, so we'll see you next week. But thanks for showing up.
It was a pleasure to be on this podcast with you guys and talk about mixed reality and
Your ham
augmented
radios?
reality, and
Talk about your ham radio.
and talk about ham radio. Sorry about that.
I like that. I think it's
The
interesting.
title of this podcast is going to be Austin Goes Ham.
Oh, that's genius.
Oh my goodness.
I like that. I'm down with that. I'm down
Oh
with that.
wow.
That's incredible. Okay.
You guys always use something I say in the title anyways.
It's just so noteworthy. Like, you're a man of few words, but what you do say is very noteworthy.
It's very wise. Wise beyond your years.
MR is Star Wars. MR is Star Wars. Okay.
Is that gonna be a t-shirt soon?
Hopefully. One day. We'll have a following, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe in a few years. Anyways, I guess we're going to draw to a close. I'm going to click play on this music and got to unmute it and bring it up. Okay.
The world can be a scary place.
I picked up one with rap. I can't talk over rap. Let's see if this sounds good. Nope. Sorry, we're going to have to edit this out. Nope. Not digging it. Nope. Sorry, guys. We're going to be here until I find one I like. Okay. I could totally do this. So, I guess that's us wrapping up. I say I get. What are your guys' filler words? My filler word is I guess and like stuff. Do you know what your filler word is, Paul?
Yeah. Stuff like that.
Stuff like that.
That's a big one.
I say that a lot too. It's so hard not to. Austin, what's your filler word?
I don't know. I think I say a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to limit that. We'll get better as we go on time. But anyways, this is us wrapping up podcast episode 25. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As our closing notes go out, it's really loud. I can't even think of that. As our closing notes go out, thank you to our good friends, the Magic Leap fans that joined us last week for the podcast. That was our first interview, and it went really well. It was fun to have discussion with people in the community and fans and everything. So, if you guys are interested in being on the podcast, go ahead and hit us up either at Twitter at The Hollow Herald, or leave a comment or personal message us on YouTube. Just let us know if you guys are interested. It was really fun to have them on, and it was a great time. You guys don't have to bring anything really to the table. We can just have discussions about whatever you guys want to talk about. It'd be fun. So we have quite a few other people already lined up, so you guys are probably going to want to jump on if you do. I probably want to get an interview once every 3 weeks, maybe, so we don't run through them too fast, or once a month at least. So hit us up, please. It'll be super exciting. As far as that goes, I think we hit in everything we wanted to, and that'll be us wrapping up episode 25. Thank you guys so much for listening. We do this for you guys. Thank you so much.